Now, as many as 50 children are thought to be among dozens of people kidnapped in northern Cameroon by suspected Boko Haram militants.
Officials say the Islamist fighters crossed over from neighbouring Nigeria and targeted villages near the town of Mokolo.
The abductions come just a day after Chad deployed troops to combat the threat from the insurgents. Speaking more on this, we're joined by Olivia Gita, who is with an international security and geopolitical risk consultant. Olivier, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
Boko Haram now holds sway to some degree over a territory the size of Belgium. How did it come to this?
Look, it's been very clear for the past year and a half that Boko Haram was going to increase their control over the territory. Unfortunately, until the abduction of the girls last May, regional support was not happening, and so they could cross into Cameroon very quickly, have a fallback, and it was very easy for them to get much more traction. Since June and since the international coalition against Boko Haram has been gaining traction, now it's difficult, and that's how you see them farming out and attacking Cameroon, who before June was closing its eyes in front of Boko Haram. So,
is there a danger that they overreach, overextend themselves if they end up being tackled by militaries from Chad, for instance, or Cameroon, who have a proven track record through their peacekeeping activities? They may find actually they're facing a military adversary who really is out to get them. And there's so much criticism of how the Nigerian military have been incapable of dealing with Boko Haram. Perhaps other nations may fare rather better.
it's possible, but remember, it's an asymmetrical war, and they know the ground quite easily, and the region around Lake Chad is also very difficult. And one of the reasons it was tough for armies to find the girls, even with good technology, is the ground. So they have an advantage, and they have been recruiting also local from Cameroon and Chad in the past year.
When they recruit, what's driving the people who recruit them? Is this, as some people suggest, a largely criminal enterprise, or is it pure ideology that drives them? And where's the funding coming from?
Most of the funding comes from basically racketeering and getting some money from local people. But you hit on the nail. I mean, it's a three-pronged reasoning behind that. First one is buying off people and paying them handsomely while this region is very poor. The second factor we should not forget is fear, because if you don't join, then we can kill your family. And the third one could be ideology, very much so, because this region sees itself really isolated from the rest of Nigeria, especially.
Is the leadership conscious of its international, the impression that's created internationally of Boko Haram being an utter pariah, prepared to do anything to achieve its aims, whether that's the abduction of school children, slaughtering hundreds of people in villages, etc., etc., etc. Is anybody at Boko Haram going to get a phone call from a counterpart at Al-Shabaab saying, look guys, you're doing us all a disservice?
Actually, Boko has been working with Al-Shabaab and especially Al-Qaeda in Islamic Maghreb. The question is now, they feel they don't get the respect they should get because of the number of people they kill, because Boko Haram is one of the most bloody group in the world, and they don't get much more media exposure, and they don't get as much money as other group within Al-Qaeda. So they're going to try to, as much as possible, link up with other groups, maybe do a lot of kidnapping for ransom of expats in order to get both funding and media exposure.
Well, it's a frightening picture you paint. Olivier, thank you very much indeed. Olivier,
thank you for having me.